What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Yammy Noob, and today we are taking a look at the prices of a used motorcycle bought from a private seller and that exact same used motorcycle bought from a dealership. We wanted to take a look and seeing whether or not it's actually cheaper to buy from a private seller or whether or not it's better to just go from a dealer. Stay tuned, it's going to be a good one. Now guys, I do want to apologize ahead of time. I have had a bit of a head cold going the past couple of days, so if I sound a little bit funny, that's what's going on. I'm feeling better, it's going to take a little while for me to get my whole head cleared out. It's part of the reason why I'm here in the office alone today. So, we are going to be taking a look at a used Vulcan 650. The reason why I am taking a look at this atrocious motorcycle is because one of the guys on our Discord server actually wanted to pick this motorcycle up for his son as his first motorcycle and posted in our Ask Yam and Spite channel whether or not he should look at one from a private seller and one at a dealership. He found two great examples, and I wanted to take a look and see which one would actually be cheaper, because while you might be able to argue a little bit more with somebody who's a private seller than you would with a dealership, sometimes going with a dealership can actually be cheaper in the long run. So we're going to be looking at the exact ads that this guy was looking at, and then we're going to be doing some math based on all of the numbers here in Texas, and we're going to finally determine once and for all, is it better to go for a private sale for a used motorcycle, or whether you should just go to a dealership and get it done nice and easy.
Now, regardless of where you want to buy your bike, it's not going to come with one key feature, and that's a proper phone mount. Lucky for you, Rockform has you covered with the best-in-class phone mount and case combo for any kind of motorcycle. Whether you're a Harley Pirate or a Sumo Squid, they've got something that'll fit your motorcycle. They've recently updated their kit with an optional locking vibration dampener, which will cradle your phone in a loving cloud of comfort that your butt could only hope for after 3 hours on the highway. Click that link down below and use the code YN25 for 25% off your order. Big shout out to Rockform for supporting this video.
All right, so we are looking at the actual ads for this motorcycle first and foremost, so we can just see if there's a relative difference between them right off the jump. So normally when I do something like this, when I'm actually looking for a motorcycle for myself, the first thing I'm looking for is I'm looking for some kind of description, right? I want to see what the person has wrote about their motorcycle. Unfortunately, the used one that we have private seller is from Facebook Marketplace, and I went in and actually analyzed the whole listing. The whole listing is a pretty broad way to describe it. It's giving it a little bit more credit. It's two photos. One of them looks like it came from the dude's Instagram, and the other one doesn't even show the whole motorcycle. Not a great start, and the seller's description says, comes with gear and tools. That's it. So, sounds to me like this is somebody who is trying to just get rid of a motorcycle that they rode a little bit and then didn't enjoy. It's a 2017 going for $7,000. That's a lot. The only nice thing here is that it only has 2,600 miles. However, our guy said that he was able to get it down for $6K, which is a lot better than $7 grand. $7 grand for a almost new Vulcan 650 when the new ones are $7,500. That's a lot. So at $6 grand, okay, this is a good looking motorcycle. I'd have to go out and see it in person, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Now let's talk about this dealer that we're looking at. Normally with the dealership, what you see is you see a lot of copy paste from their new bike page to the used bike page, but we don't even see that here. We do have 3 nice photos, which is better than 2, but I mean, they're still from far away. You can't really tell anything. You have to go look at the motorcycle to really be able to determine if there's anything weird going on with it. The description on the motorcycle is not great, seeing as how no description is available for this unit. However, the price that they have it listed at is $59.99, which that's still steep. But our Discord boy says he was able to get the dealer to sell it for $4,900, which, okay, Sure. At $4,900, this is good. However, this motorcycle is a little bit more tired, 17,930 miles on the clock. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about between these is mileage. Do not let mileage scare you. That should not factor in to your purchase decision unless it is coming up on a very expensive service. Something like a valve job on a Ducati or something like that. Otherwise, it's going to be totally fine. It is worth pointing out though, the dealer has not performed that service. The dealer is not going to service these motorcycles when they buy them used or they buy them at auction. They might give them a quick look over to make sure that the bike is rideable, but they're not going to go in and replace the fluids and the brake pads and all that stuff. That's something that you're going to have to do. We're going to talk about that right now. So before even diving into the relative costs of these two motorcycles, I wanted to mention the fact that not every dealer is going to service the bike before you get it. That's something that is a myth that goes around. Whenever you buy a used bike from a dealership, it's just ready to go, just like a new bike. That is not always the case. There's a lot of dealerships that will go in and they will prep a motorcycle for you. They'll change the fluids, they'll do all this stuff to make it feel a little bit better, but they are going to reflect that in the cost of the motorcycle. Also, why would they spend time, both materials and labor time, that could be used on another customer's motorcycle to prep it up for sale? They'll just have you come bring it back in a week so that they can charge you again. That's what dealers do. Now, sometimes you will see a private seller that does do that work for you so that it's a nice cherry on top because you don't have to go buy a whole bunch of stuff. But once again, that's an upfront cost that this person is going to have to put in that they're going to then reflect in the price of the motorcycle. Just expect that whether or not you're going in to buy private sale or whether you're buying from a dealership, that you are going to have to spend some time working on this bike. Some things come to mind like brake fluid and brake pads. This is something that's super easy to do, but you won't see done on a lot of used motorcycles. Another thing, tires. This is something we see all the time in private listings, is that the tires, they have so much life left in them. Sure, maybe, but they're probably cheap rubber, or maybe they're the OE rubber. Or, in this case of this motorcycle, we have a Q3 in the back and some weird sport touring tire up front because this guy probably caught a nail and we have mismatched rubber. If that's something that matters to you, you're going to have to replace all of this stuff. And honestly, whether or not it matters to you, you should be doing this anyway because it's going to improve the rideability of the motorcycle. Now, let's take a look at all of the fees and so forth associated with buying private versus buying from a dealership and seeing whether or not it's actually cheaper to go from a dealer versus going from private. Now here we are at Nerd Central Station where we are going to talk numbers, and I actually have busted out my folder that I keep all of my records in for all of the different motorcycles that I've bought as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. But I'm going to be running these numbers based on all of the best calculus that I can do sitting right here at the time of filming. That is important because a lot of these numbers are going to fluctuate based on time, and they are going to fluctuate based on where you're at. So all of the numbers that I'm running are 2022 Texas numbers. You're going to need to check all of the different fees and so forth associated with your state, but this is going to give you an idea of how much all of that stuff is going to start adding up, because we've all seen a settlement statement on you whenever you go to buy a vehicle and you just see the numbers start stacking up constantly. And we are actually going to talk about a lot of that stuff right now. So let's start out with the dealer, because that is, I believe, where people think they're going to spend the most money on a used bike. They're going to be spending a bunch at the dealership because there's a whole bunch of hidden fees and so forth and so on and blah, blah, blah. That's not necessarily the case. If we go back to my purchase statement from when I bought the VFR, and this was in, let's see here, 2019, I paid for the trade-in value of the bike, my 919, which took $2,000 off the purchase price. Then there was prep, a dock fee, vehicle tax, state inspection taxes. I bought a service contract, which I was real dumb to do. Never, ever, 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 ever do that. And then there's a VIT fee, which was $13.50, which ended up getting me to about $7,552 on that loan, which isn't too bad considering that the bike itself was $71.87. If I didn't get that stupid service contract, I would have saved a lot of money on this. So there's one way that you can save yourself a boatload of cash. Never, ever, ever, ever buy service contracts. Not worth it unless you're on a Ducati or something like that, because then you're gonna hit that dealer contract pretty quickly on those services. So the price that the guy on Discord said he was able to get the dealer down to was $4,900. That's pretty good considering the list price was $59.99, so we're getting about $1,100 off here. Now that's largely likely down to the fact that the bike has almost 18,000 miles, which is a lot for a bike from 2020, but it does mean that the bike was running a lot. It's gonna be seeing a lot of miles. It's better than one that's been sitting for 2 years. So $4,900 price, that's what you're paying taxes on, right? Wrong, that is not what you're paying taxes on, especially not here in the state of Texas. You pay taxes on either the SPV or the sale value. SPV stands for state presumptive value. That is what the state assumes your vehicle is worth. If your purchase price is less than the state presumptive value, you will pay tax on the SPV. And that's exactly what we have here. Bike is listed at $4,900, SPV value is $5,260 here in Texas. So you would be paying taxes not on the lower number, but on the higher one, because states gotta wet their beak, am I right? So that means you're ending up paying $328.75 in taxes. And you have a $96 licensing fee. That's what I paid this year when I bought my KLR. Sometimes those are a little bit lower on a used bike, but the licensing and the registration fees, all that stuff, that's non-negotiable. You are going to be paying that. One thing, however, that is negotiable is I paid $189 prep rather for that VFR. You should be able to negotiate that away because A, it's only $200, and B, the bike is already ready to go. They're not prepping anything on it, they're just looking at it. They know it, you should know it. Don't pay the prep fee because the bike's already ready to go and you're gonna be doing this again later, so don't pay that twice. However, if you do end up paying that twice, your final price on this Vulcan S would be $5,513.75. Let's take a look at the private sale. That was a 2017 with a cash price of $6,000. So again, we are over the SPV value here on the bike. They're gonna see that on your purchase statement. If you just write in $1,000 on your purchase statement, they're going to run the SPV value. It might save you a couple of bucks here and there, but at a 6.25% tax rate, you're really not gonna be saving that much money. Just list the price of the bike appropriately. You don't wanna get yourself caught in any fraud or anything like that. On that 6,000 bucks, you would be paying $375 in taxes. Then you have your $96 licensing and inspection fees. Again, you're going to have to be paying that whether or not you're paying it to the state or to the dealership. You're paying that no matter what. That means that your final price on this private sale, which is supposed to be cheaper, $6,471. It is worth pointing out that sometimes you can get a private seller to come down more than you can a dealership. However, this bike that we are looking at in this particular case was already listed at $7,000 and he brought it down to $6,000. Maybe, just maybe, you can get it for like $5,500, but good luck, you're gonna have to show up and hand the dude a wad of hundreds. That's the only way possible you're gonna be able to get that for that much lower. So we are seeing here that the private sale, not necessarily that much cheaper than the dealer. However, again, we need to talk a little bit about the stuff that you're gonna have to do to your motorcycle, right? The stuff like tires, fluids, pads, oil change, all that stuff. In this case, I've run new fluids at about $40. That's brake fluid, 2 cans at 20 bucks. Then we have 2 sets of pads at 40 bucks. Then we have an oil change kit, which unbelievably cheap from Kawasaki, $31.95. That is crazy cheap. and then I just ran $350 worth of new tires. That comes down to $501.95. So the final price, factoring in everything as it is, the private sale motorcycle is going to end up being $6,972.95 versus $6,015.70 for that dealer bike. So it is not always cheaper to go for a private sale versus one from a dealership. Now, real quick, before we wrap this thing up, I want to give the dealers one more thing that you're not going to be able to get from a private seller, and that is buyer satisfaction stuff. This is a business that you're buying from, so you're going to actually be able to go in and be like, look, the bike just doesn't work anymore. If you sold me this bike, I took it home, and now I can't get the thing to start. What the heck? You go back and you have some protection buying from that business. Yeah, a lot of them are on an as-is basis, but if the thing is busted and you have lemon laws in your state, it's going to be a lot easier to hold a dealer to account for that because, again, they're a business. They've got cash to deal with this. If you're buying from somebody who just needed to sell their motorcycle out of their garage for whatever reason, you have none of that. You're not going to be able to go to the person and be like, look, this bike, it just doesn't work anymore. You sold it to me. And they'd be like, well, you bought it. You bought it as is. Every deal that you see in private sale is always as is. And there's basically nothing going to help you if you get your bike back and it just doesn't work anymore. So, with that being said, there are a lot of pluses to buying used from a dealership. And frankly, as somebody who's done it a bunch of times, I've bought used from dealers, I've bought used from a bunch of different folks. It's just easier getting it done at a dealer. Yes, you do have to deal with a little bit of the scummy dealer stuff, and it makes you feel like you need to take a shower. And sometimes it's easier to just buy it private. But I will say that it is not always cheaper going private versus buying from a dealership. Sometimes those fees, they're just worth it. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this look into the actual costs of buying used from private versus buying used from a dealer, and I hope it helped you get yourself a motorcycle. And remember guys, if you want to get one for free, all you got to do is click the links down in the description below and get yourself signed up over on shop.yammynoob.co or yammynoob.co, where you can get yourself one of these nice here bikes delivered direct to your door for the low, low price of nothing. Ain't no dealer gonna be able to beat that, are they? I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Well, look at you. You've made it to the end of another Yammy Noob video. You should consider yourself pretty lucky because I have curated this one right over here for you to continue watching. It's probably just as good as the one you just saw. Unless you hated the one you just saw. I don't know, maybe leave me a comment down below about how much you hated it as well too. Or just keep watching this one. Make sure you keep watching Yammy Noob. Don't forget to keep watching Yammy Noob. That's the most important thing. Keep watching Yammy Noob.